Elena and Bonnie decorate Karen. Hey guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. I hope you guys are having a great week. I know last week for a lot of people in college, it was like end of semester, like things getting out for the summer. So anybody that graduated, congrats, or if you just finished another year, good work. I'm proud of you. Everybody else in regular school, you got another couple weeks. You can do it. Today we are continuing with our journey talking about season 3 of the Vampire Diaries. We're gonna meet a couple new characters this week. We're gonna get more info on the Michelsons, so I hope you guys are excited. We're gonna open that 4th coffin, okay? We're gonna find out what's in the coffin. What's got Klaus so scared? Also, Damon and Elena kissed. Remember that? Remember when they kissed? Oh, okay. Let's just get right into it. If you are enjoying this series and you want to see more, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any videos. I'm here every Friday. I just don't want you guys to forget and then come back in a couple months and be like, oh my God, now I have like 30 hours of content to watch. If we stay on top of it together, you know, that's gonna make everything easier in the long run. Small recap. Stefan teamed up with Catherine and stole the coffins from Klaus. Klaus is going a little bit feral over all of that. And he tried to kill Jeremy. So then Rick and Elena and Damon got Jeremy compulsed and sent out of town. We open with a Damon in the shower scene because why not? We're gonna get a lot of those, okay? They really said, Ian, we're paying you to take your clothes off and stand under the steaming water. And he said, okay, that's fine. It's cut between him in the shower and Elena just going ham on a punching bag to show us that she's getting stronger. Again, like I said, I appreciate that we get a nice consistent arc of Elena working out, which is refreshing. They don't usually do that. They're both being weird about the fact that they kissed each other. Can't act like they liked it too much. Bonnie is at the witch house trying to figure out how to get the coffin open. She fails again, and then the witches start whispering frantically around her. The coffins disappear, and we realize that somebody is in the house with her. But don't get too scared. Damon and Stefan show up and kill the hybrid that was like sniffing around the house trying to get to Bonnie. Elena and Bonnie are decorating Caroline's locker for her birthday. This is when Elena tells Bonnie that they're sending Jeremy away. Bonnie's upset about this, but she can't like really argue because while the method is incorrect, like Elena's right. Stefan keeps getting hung up on the fact that Klaus was like, if you don't give me the coffins back, I'm gonna kill everybody you love. And he's like, he's not serious about that. He's just bluffing. And we need to call him out on it and like prove that he's not really gonna do anything. And Damon is like, that's a really bad idea because what are we gonna do when he does kill somebody because he is crazy and he is serious. Caroline comes to school and runs into Tyler. They talk and he basically is like, you know, I understand why you can't be seen with me. I understand why we can't be together. And I think it's for the best too because I right now can't put you first even though I want to. Like I'm stuck listening to Klaus and doing everything Klaus wants and it's not safe for us to be together and I'm sorry and I love you. And then he gives her her birthday present, which is this adorable little charm bracelet. I'm sure somebody's nitpicked exactly what's on it, but what stuck out to me this time was the football helmet, which is just so cute because it's like a little charm bracelet of like their time together because you know Tyler's on the football team. Oh, it's really cute. Stefan goes to Klaus even though Damon told him not to and he's like, get your hybrids out of town or I'm gonna start killing them myself. And Klaus is like, don't threaten me, or I will kill everyone you love. And Stefan's like, okay, I don't care though. Or maybe I do care. Maybe I care so much that if you kill Rick, I'll drop Elijah in the Arctic. And Klaus is like, excuse me? And then the girl helping Klaus comes back into the room, one of the hybrids, and she's like, everything okay in here, Klaus? And he's like, yes, everything. And before he can finish, friggin' Stefan beheads her. And Klaus is like, I can't believe you just did that in front of me. And Stefan's like, oh, what did I say, Klaus? Get him out of town. I'm crazy. I'm rogue. I'm gonna do whatever I want. You can't control me. Caroline skips school after running into Tyler because she's so upset about her birthday. But don't worry, the gang, Matt, Bonnie, and Elena, show up at her house and are like, oh my god, happy birthday! You skipped school, but we don't care, we're here anyway, we're gonna surprise you. And they're planning to take her to the falls to celebrate, but Caroline like really doesn't want to celebrate her birthday. She's like very down, and Bonnie's like, this is so not like you. Birthdays are like your thing. You love an event. You're literally the reason why half these events happen in these episodes. And Caroline's like, yeah, but not this year. This year I'm stuck at 17 and I'm miserable. I don't even get to turn 18. I'm just dead. And so Elena's like, I know the perfect thing. And they leave. Klaus brings Tyler in and is like, I need you to do something for me. And Tyler's like, well, what is it? I'll do whatever you want. And Klaus is like, I know you will. Go bite Caroline. And Tyler's like, no, I will not be doing that. Are you insane? If I bite her, she dies. And Klaus is like, yeah, I need to prove a point. Go bite Caroline. Tyler refuses, and Klaus is finally like, okay, you know what? Fine. I will figure out somebody else to go do it. Whatever, Tyler. Just leave. And Tyler's like, thank you, and he heads out. Damon explains to Rick that the reason why Stefan's kind of off the rails and yet not completely off the rails is because his humanity switch... Rick is like, it's either on or it's off. What's wrong with him? And Damon's like, I think there's a secret third option. I think Stefan has figured out how to use a dimmer switch. So his humanity's on, but just a little bit. Which is so silly. But basically, Stefan's just feeling the bad emotions of being a human. So that's why he's so hell-bent on revenge, because he's let in the anger and the fear and the rage, but not the love and the hope and the happiness. Elena's big idea for helping Caroline is to take her to the graveyard, break into a crypt, and hold a funeral. No, I'm not kidding. So they celebrate Caroline's life so that this first birthday can be like the first vampire birthday of her new life unfolding before her. At this episode's founding family event, we learn that Meredith, Rick's doctor girlfriend, is a Fel, so she's a founding family member on the council and she knows all about the vampires. Then we see Klaus coming in and schmoozing with the mayor. He's pledging money to like donate to everything, and basically Carol strikes up a deal with him because Tyler is stuck under his control, so she can't really go against Klaus without putting Tyler in danger. And she's very like Narcissa Malfoy about the whole thing, so she's like, I'm gonna do what he says. And they end up like coming to this understanding where like Klaus is gonna take care of the town, take care of all the people, as long as his hybrids are left unharmed, which means that Damon needs to get Stefan under control, because otherwise the council's gonna take action against Stefan. Because that makes sense. Caroline drunk texts Tyler, and Elena is like, oh my god, I can't believe you did that. And then Bonnie just bites Elena's head off and is like, you can't control what everybody does, Elena. That's not how life works. Which is true, but is a very intense moment for it to come out. And then they kind of get into a tiff about the whole Jeremy situation because Bonnie thinks it's wrong that Elena's like controlling Jeremy to leave town, and Bonnie leaves. Meredith gets roughed up by a guy named Brian at the party, but Rick steps in and is like, back off, asshole, I will fight you. And Brian rightfully is like, you will fight me, you've got crazy eyes, I will leave now. And Meredith is like, oh my god, thank you so much, thanks for helping me. And Rick is like, no problem, who was that guy? And she's like, oh, it was my ex-boyfriend, you know, blah blah blah. And then she kind of leaves that moment, and Rick goes to follow her, but not before making like really scary murder eyes to Brian before the camera pans away. Stefan attacks a hybrid at the party, even though he has expressly been told not to do that. And Damon stops him, thankfully, and is like, are you joking me right now? There are so many humans at this location, and there are so many founding family members that will turn on you in a second, Stefan. You can't be stupid, okay? If we're gonna beat Klaus, we need to be better than Klaus. We need to be smarter. We need to be thinking farther ahead than him. And Stefan's like, no, actually, to beat the villain, you need to be a better villain. And then he just storms off down the hallway. Tyler shows up to talk to Caroline, and he's like, look, everything I said a few hours ago at school, I take back. I take back all of it. Klaus can't control me. I'm my own man. I love you, and I want to be with you, and that's what's important. And so they start kissing, and it's really sweet, and the music swells, and then, yeah, you guessed it, he freaking bites her. So he freaks out and is like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe you just did that. And she has now a werewolf bite. So Caroline is dying. Matt and Elena leave the crypt to try to find Caroline, and then Stefan pops up and kidnaps her. We cut to Elena waking up in Stefan's car. He's driving way too fast. Damon calls. Stefan answers Elena's phone and is like, what do you think Klaus will do when he can't make any more hybrids? And Elena's like, what are you talking about, Stefan? And Damon's like, what are you talking about, brother? And then Stefan hangs up and just speeds off into the night, driving way too freaking fast in this little old Volkswagen situation. I know that thing's like a tin can, okay? Not safe. Damon goes to Klaus and is like, so Stefan took Elena, and Klaus is like, that's fine. What's he gonna do? Kill her? No, I think not. And Damon's like, I am just telling you that I know my brother better than anybody, and he is so far off the rails right now that I don't know how far he's gonna take this situation. He could do something absolutely absurd, and I'm telling you, we need to do what he says. So you need to put your big boy pants on and just fucking listen to him and do what he wants. In the car, Elena is like, what are you doing? What is your plan? Where are we going? And Stefan is like, I don't know, Elena. Maybe I'll just turn you into a vampire, and that way Klaus can't use you anymore. That could be what we do. Klaus ends up on the phone with Stefan again, and Stefan tells him that. He's like, what if I turn her into a vampire? And Klaus is like, you won't. And Stefan's like, oh, try me, dude. He bites his wrist, forces Elena to drink, and he's like, I'm gonna run her off Wickery Bridge. Is that what you want, Klaus? Because that's what you're gonna get. And Klaus is like, you are bluffing. And Stefan's like, am I? He speeds up. Elena's like, Stefan, no! And Klaus is like, oh my God, stop. Okay, I'll get rid of my hybrids. And Stefan's like, thank you so much. And he stops the car. Elena is absolutely freaking distraught because if you'll remember, her parents died on Wickery Bridge. And you know who knows that? Stefan, because he's the one that pulled her out of the car. Oh my God. I know I said, okay, I remember saying this. I'd made a joke about like, how do you come back from like attacking each other? Like because Stefan bit her and everything and it was really traumatic. This moment right here is when I remember watching the show. I remember being like, I swear to everything, if she ends up fully back with Stefan, I am done watching the show. I'm simply done. Because are you kidding me right now, okay? That's what Elena says to him. She's like, you're insane. What the heck was that? I can't believe you just did that to me. And he's like, yeah, well, your fear sold it, okay? So I couldn't let you in on it. I wasn't really gonna do it, Elena. And she's like, it kind of seemed like you were, bro. And he's like, no, I just needed Klaus to like do what I wanted. And I was just doing, you know what, Elena? I don't care. I don't care what you think. Then he gets in his car and he leaves her there. He leaves her there, distraught and sobbing on the bridge. No. Klaus shows up to heal Caroline. I can't stop smiling. Sorry, Klaus shows up to heal Caroline, okay? He comes into her room. I can't help it. I'm so excited. Gets into her room, okay? And Caroline's like dying, you know, she's entered fever state. And she's like, are you gonna kill me? And Klaus is like, on your birthday? Do you really think so low of me? Oh my God, okay? He looks at her bite and he apologizes. And he's like, I'm so sorry. Like, it wasn't personal at all. You're just collateral damage. He then just starts monologuing to her. And he's like, I love birthdays. Did you know that? And she's like, no, I didn't. And he's like, yeah, I love birthdays. You know, there's so much like to look forward to. And that's how you should feel. You should be looking at your new life as a gift because like there's a whole world out there for you and so many things to see and do and people to meet and places to go. And like you could have 1,000 more birthdays. Or if you really feel like your life has no meaning now, I could just let you die. And that could be your birthday present. They're both crying, okay? And she's like, I don't want to die. And he's like, okay. And he gives her his blood and she drinks, and so she's healed. Do you guys remember when I said the whole thing about like blood sharing, where sometimes they're like, this is a big deal, this is important, and sometimes they're like, this means nothing and no one cares? This is one of those moments where you're like, oh my God, I should not be watching them doing this right now. It is, it's the whole situation, okay? But Caroline's gonna be fine. Caroline's gonna be fine. But who wrote this? Who wrote this scene? Who looked at those two characters and thought, you know what they need? They need an emotional moment. They need a deathbed confession type scene just thrown in for fun. No warning. There's been no clues to this up to now, but like, boom, here we are. It's a gift. Damon picks Elena up and brings her home, so Elena is safe now. They get all close to each other when he's asking if she's okay and stuff. He looks at her mouth and she's like, ah, Damon, you can't kiss me again. But she's like smiling and laughing. Mixed signals, girlfriend, mixed signals. But Damon's like, oh, I know, it's okay. And she's like, it's not right. And he's like, it is right. It's just not the right time. Good night. I'm unwell. Ian has this thing that if you've seen the show, you will know what I mean. There's like whispering Damon, and then there's low-pitched Damon. It's different. It's a different tone that he uses. He usually only does it with Elena. It's the same thing he did where after the kiss, he was like, good night. It's that the tone that he uses. Or when he was like, I wish you didn't have to forget this, but you do. That register that he drops into, it should be illegal. It should not be allowed on television. Bonnie shows up to say goodbye to Jeremy. She's absolutely about to tell him, they're using compulsion on you. You're being compelled to leave town. She makes eye contact with Elena, and then she looks at Jeremy again, and she registers that they have made the right decision. So she's just like, actually, I'm just here to give you a hug. And they have a sweet moment, and then Jeremy leaves for his new life in Denver. Caroline wakes up and finds a present on her bedside table. Who can it be from? That's right, freaking Klaus Michelson. It's this beautiful bracelet, like very expensive silver diamond situation, and she's just kind of like, what? Matt meets Elena at the bridge, and they talk about how the funeral for Caroline wasn't enough. They need to have a funeral for Elena too, because Elena's old life died when she went over the bridge with her parents, and the girl that came up from that water is a new person, because yeah, it's almost like when you go through traumatic events, your priorities change, maybe your personality changes a little bit, maybe you grow up, Elena. Maybe that's a normal thing to do, but they treat it like this big, crazy revelation, which I guess it is when you're 17. I had some life-changing events happen that year. I'm being a little hard on them, okay? But the dramatics get a little cheesy every once in a while, and this is one of those scenes. Last scene of the episode is the sheriff finding the body of Brian, you know, the guy who freaking messed with Meredith at the party, dead with a stake, like a vampire, just bink. Who could have done that? Bonnie brings Elena into the scheme about the coffins, even though Stefan is pissed, because Bonnie explains that she's figured out that there is one person who might be able to help them figure out how to open the coffin, and she needs Elena's help with said person because said person is Bonnie's mom. If it wasn't clear before, it's been like a little bit talked about, but Bonnie's mom left when she was a kid. So Bonnie grew up with her dad, and then she had a close relationship with Graham's, and that's pretty much all of Bonnie's family that we know of. Abby Bennett is her mother, who fled and left for some unknown reason. We don't know why. Damon tries to get involved and is like, road trip, I'm coming with you. And Elena's like, absolutely not. We do not need your snark ribbing at Bonnie the entire time. We're going to do this on our own. You're going to stay here. And they have this moment where it's like electricity as they look at each other, and Bonnie's like, what the heck is going on? And Damon's like, oh, we kissed and now it's weird. And then he leaves. So he's just telling people. And Bonnie's just like, you did what now? But they don't talk about it. Tyler comes to Caroline. He actually is waiting in her house when she gets home. And she's like, wow, you can't be in here right now. I feel very unsafe around you. And he's like, I know, and I'm sorry. I have to explain. he tells her that he had said no to Klaus, and yet he still bit her. So he's like, I gotta break this sire bond because something is like fundamentally wrong, and I don't know how to figure out how to control it on my own. So he called in a reinforcement. You're never gonna guess who it is. Friggin' Bill Forbes, ladies and gentlemen. He's back. He's gonna help Tyler using the same, borderline torture techniques that he used on Caroline in order to rewire Tyler's brain and break the sire bond. Meredith and Rick are hanging out before she goes to work at the grill. She ends up leaving. Damon comes in and is like, she's hot, but, literally everybody around us is telling us that she's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And Rick is like, yeah, people keep telling me that, but I can't find anything wrong with her. Like, I don't see a single red flag. And Damon's like, I got one for you. Brian was murdered. And Rick is like, oh, like her ex-boyfriend Brian? Like the guy that she got in a fight with last night? Yeah, she didn't tell me about that. And Damon's like, ugh, red flag number 1, homie. Stefan calls Elena and is like, what's going on? Did you guys figure out how to open the coffin? Where are you going? And Elena is like, Stefan, we would be like much farther along with this whole situation if you would stop calling every 5 minutes, leave us alone. And Stefan's like, yeah, no problem, you got it. But then he's holding a picture of Abby Bennett with her address and everything because for some reason the girls didn't take that piece of paper with them. They just left it on the kitchen table at the Gilbert house, so he found it. So now Stefan's probably gonna follow them. And then we see Klaus also sending a hybrid after Abby Bennett to go meet the girls. Elena and Bonnie get to Abby's house, but she's not home. They do, however, meet a guy named Jamie who explains that he's not like related to Bonnie. He's not actually Abby's kid, but she dated his dad, and then his dad was like a deadbeat, and when his dad ran off, Abby was like, I'll take you in, you can live with me, you can like be my son. So she kind of adopted him. He's older though. I don't know how old he's supposed to be, okay? He looks like a grown man, as you can see. He looks considerably older than Bonnie and Elena. I kind of imagined he's probably like college age instead of high school age. I don't know. But yeah, nice boy. Nice boy. Abby then comes home and meets Bonnie, and it is as awkward, as intense as you are thinking. Add like 10 times to that. Whatever you think how bad it was, increase that. Bill explains the plan to Tyler and Caroline, which is basically that the sire bond is so strong because Tyler feels indebted to Klaus for the fact that he no longer has to turn into a werewolf each month, and that was like such a problem for him. So Bill is like, if you can force yourself to turn over and over and over again, that will help you break the bond to Klaus. And Tyler's like, but I haven't done a controlled change before. And Bill's like, you better figure it out right now. Go. Change. And Tyler starts like bone-breaking, painful situation. Abby explains why she left. She's telling Elena that she was best friends with her mom. And basically, Michael, the one that was locked in the crypt, showed up to Mystic Falls looking for Elena. They knew he was looking for Elena, and Abby was the only witch in the area strong enough to do the spell to get Michael, put him in the crypt, and lock him up. So that's why Michael was in the crypt. Abby Bennett did that. But then it drained her so badly that she didn't have her powers anymore. And she was like, oh, I don't have to be Abby Bennett the witch. I could just be Abby Bennett the person. And for whatever reason, she just decided, screw my husband and child, I'm gonna start over in a new location. And she just never went home. Yeah, that's a choice. That is a choice that Abby Bennett and the writing team made. But that's really hard for Bonnie to learn because not only did Abby start over, but she like had more boyfriends and adopted Jamie. So she like has a full new life. It's not like she was unhappy away from Bonnie. She was just thriving in a new city. Elena goes outside to give them some space to deal with all of that and gets attacked by Stefan. Damon goes to see Meredith at work because he's convinced that she is the person doing the murders. So he's basically like just confronting her and being like, I want you to tell me the truth about all this nonsense going on. She's like, I want to know why Rick healed so fast the other night, okay? And then she friggin' shoots Damon with a little bit of vervain and steals a vial of his blood. Caroline can't handle seeing Tyler in so much pain, so she leaves. They're at the Lockwood cellar, by the way. She leaves. And then Bill starts provoking Tyler with an axe. And he's basically like, if you don't turn, I'm gonna kill you because right now I can't trust you anywhere near my daughter. So figure out how to turn fully or I'm gonna kill you right now. So Tyler does. Abby explains that even though she doesn't have her full magic anymore, she still has a lot of information about grimoires and herbs and like using like quote unquote like natural magic, I guess you could say. There's kind of like a divide where it's like the stuff that Bonnie does is like elemental, like physically like doing stuff, whereas Abby still has access to like using the natural properties of herbs and flowers and things like that, like from the earth. She does tell us though that the spirits of nature which the witches serve were pretty mad at her for leaving Bonnie. So that's another reason why her powers just never came back, because they were so disappointed in her for abandoning Bonnie that they took them from her. Jamie finds Stefan and Elena arguing in the barn. When Stefan tries to just like shoo Jamie away, Jamie comes back with a shotgun and is like, I was told that this man's not supposed to be here and therefore I'm gonna kill him. And then he freaking shoots Stefan. Then we cut to Bonnie and Abby in the house. They hear the gunshot and Abby freaking knocks Bonnie out with some herbs. Tyler underestimates his new vampire werewolf strength and breaks out of the chains as he is turning and attacks Bill. Abby takes Bonnie to the hybrid that Klaus had sent to the house. Now we know that hybrid like used compulsion on Jamie and Abby, and so they were always gonna have to do what he said. So now that she's got Bonnie there, she's like, look, you have to tell me where the coffins are because otherwise they're gonna kill Jamie. And she says that again, like very loudly. She's like, Bonnie, you have to tell me where the coffins are. And then we've upheld our end of the bargain. Bonnie still doesn't really get it. So Abby sends her a phone. She's like got her phone in her hand and she slides it over to her and it says on there, warn your friends. So then Bonnie's just like frantically. And then at the barn, Jamie and Elena start talking and she gets him to explain everything the hybrid said to him like in detail. And she realizes that Jamie was told not to hurt her. So Elena's like, well, you're doing a really bad job of it because you tied my wrist up too tight and now my arms hurt. Like, I'm in pain, Jamie. And then when he comes over to untie her, she knocks him out. And then she goes to Stefan, who has been shot with wooden buckshot, which if you guys don't know what that is, it explodes upon impact. So it's like shrapnel, all in his chest. And he says every time he breathes, he can feel the pieces moving towards his heart. So she has to dig into him and just play operator for a few minutes and get the pieces out. Klaus goes to Damon at the witch house. The witches immediately attack Klaus and they do not just like burn him a little bit. They start like spiritual warfare on his ass, okay? It's over for Klaus. But then he starts yelling that if they don't knock it off, he's like, 100 dead witches. How many ancestors do you guys have in the living world right now? I will freaking kill all of your descendants if you don't give me my coffins! And then they release the spell and give him the coffins, but there are only 3 of them. And he's like, where's my 4th coffin? And Damon's like, yeah, funny story. We didn't have time to move all of them, but I got that last one that wouldn't open. Is that the one you wanted? Did you want that one, Klaus? I'm sorry, you can't have it. That's the one you can't have. And Klaus is like, oh my God. Rick goes to Meredith to confront her and try to figure out if she'll tell him the truth about what's going on. She's like, you want to know the truth, Rick? Follow me. Bill gets brought in after being nearly mauled to death by Tyler, and she saves his life with that vial of Damon's blood that she stole. And she's like, I'm a doctor who doesn't like to let people die. This is what I do. This is why I'm fascinated by the vampires, because we could be using them to keep people alive and to cheat death and blah, 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 and scientific advancements. And Rick is like, oh my God, no way. I'm actually a vampire hunter. And he just spills the beans on all of their secrets. They kiss, which is like fine, I guess, but Elena does show up and catch them, which is very awkward for everyone involved. Abby and Bonnie have an emotional goodbye, but it's all gonna be fine. We're gonna keep seeing Abby because she's gonna help Bonnie figure out how to open the coffin. Tyler goes to Bill to apologize for hurting him, and Bill is like, it's okay, I know you didn't mean it, and they gave me vampire blood against my wishes, and now I'm all healed, so it doesn't even matter. And then Tyler is like, I'm really glad I broke the sire bond. And Bill's like, homie, you did not. You're gonna have to turn and turn and turn and turn until turning doesn't hurt anymore. And that's the only way you're gonna break the bond, because you've gotta sever that connection in your brain where turning is bad and Klaus stops you from turning, which means Klaus is good. You've gotta just become used to turning so that there's no needing for it to be good or bad. It's just neutral for you now. When Elena was helping Stefan get the pieces of wood out of him, he was like, you're different, you've changed. And they had this kind of like sort of a heart-to-heart, like a little bit. And it's hard to have a heart-to-heart with Stefan right now because he's not himself, but it's like as close as they could get. And she feels guilty, so she tells him that something happened, and it's not that she feels guilty she did it, she just feels guilty he doesn't know, and she tells him about kissing Damon. When Stefan gets home later, he has the nerve to punch Damon in the face over this. Before they can like come to blows over it, Damon's like, hold up, hold the phone. Actually, I think you want to talk about this. And he holds up a dagger and is like, I did something. At the hybrid house, Klaus is talking to that hybrid that, helped him with Abby and Bonnie. And he's basically like, we're going to let everybody out of the coffin soon. I have a little bit of unfinished business to attend to. And the hybrid's like, oh, what do you... And then his heart gets ripped out. By who? Who did it? Who was it? That's right. Our main man. Our main man. This boy right here. He's like, what did I miss? We open episode 13 with Elijah just absolutely destroying Klaus. Just like boom, boom, boom. It's ridiculous, okay? But obviously Elijah was in the box, so he's a little tired, and Klaus gets the upper hand, gets him pinned down, and he rips a dagger out of another one of their brothers and is like, don't make me do it again. And Elijah's like, go ahead. You stake me, you're gonna have Cole to deal with. And that is a horrifying thought for Klaus, who was like, ugh. Okay, now hold on. Let's just talk about this. Let's just be adults here and talk about this. Klaus then says that Michael is dead and they don't have to run anymore. They can start over. And Elijah is like, if that's true, then why is the family still in coffins? Klaus launches into this little explanation of like, there's so much I haven't told you, so much I never wanted you to find out, but I'm ready now. I'm ready to explain everything, but please let me explain. And because Elijah is a good, sweet, kind boy who loves his family, he listens. The sheriff shows up to talk to Elena and Rick and is like, hey, so Brian, the medical examiner, he was murdered. And funnily enough, the stake that was used is one of the Gilbert stakes, and the only fingerprints on the murder weapon are Elena's. So Elijah, listened to Klaus and let him explain himself, but he still goes and meets with Damon, because when he changed clothes and got into his fresh new black suit, he was like, I found a note in my jacket. And it was from you, Damon, and you said you wanted to meet, you said you wanted to talk, and Damon's like, yeah, so does this mean you're on our side? And Elijah's like, well, I'm here, and I'm listening, tell me what you want. And Damon basically wants help figuring out what's in the coffin, because once upon a time, they all wanted to stop Klaus, and they still want to stop Klaus, so can they figure it out together and be a team? Stefan takes Abby and Bonnie to the Lockwood tunnels, and they put the fourth coffin into that room that's spelled so that vampires can't get in, which was a genius, big brain move on Damon's part. So they go in there, they're gonna work on trying to get the coffin open. When Stefan leaves, Elena is waiting for him, and she's like, Bonnie said you would be here. And he's like, yeah, I don't care, I don't have anything to say to you. And she's like, okay, but we need to talk. I need to know if you killed Brian. And he's like, I didn't. But you know who might have? Your new best friend, Damon. Maybe Damon did it. Did you ask him? And she's like, no, Stefan, I didn't, because only one of you is off the rails right now, and it's not him. Caroline goes to pick up Bill from the hospital. She also kind of susses out Meredith a little bit for Elena. She can't find anything wrong with Meredith either, but Meredith tells her that Bill already checked himself out of the hospital and he's gone. So Caroline's like, this is weird. When she gets back into the hallway with Elena, she calls Bill and she's like, that's weird. I hear his phone ringing. They track the sound and she finds her father murdered in a closet. Which, yes, I hear you guys yelling it. Meredith saved him with vampire blood, which means he is now a vampire. Abby figures out, because remember, she's really good at like grimoires and studying and stuff like that. She understands that one of the symbols on the text that has the like OG spell put on the coffin listed out in it, there's like a bloodline lock, which is basically like 2 generations of the same bloodline did the spell that locked the coffin, which means that 2 generations of a bloodline need to unlock the coffin, which is great because they have 2 of them, so it's gonna work. Bill wakes up and realizes what's happened and that he's transitioning, but he refuses to drink. He also says that he doesn't remember what happened to him. He was just trying to sneak out and somebody jumped him and attacked him and left him in the closet. Rick realizes that the knife used on Bill was also a Gilbert knife, which means that Meredith now, the first time when the stake happened, they were like, oh, Meredith doesn't really have any connection to that. But now Rick is like, ugh. She came over to the house. That's when they almost kissed and Elena walked in on them. So she was in the kitchen where the knife was from. She was at the founder's family party where Rick had the stake that was used to kill Brian in the trunk of his car. So they're kind of all putting it together that now, unfortunately, it does look like Meredith was probably involved. Damon and Stefan go to a dinner party with Elijah and Klaus to talk about the deal that they want to make together. Liz comes to sit with Bill because now they know what's happening to him, so she comes to kind of make peace with him before he dies because Bill is insisting that he would rather die than turn into a vampire. Caroline is kind of like, I don't care what he wants, I'm gonna turn him, like I'll just insist that he drinks, and Elena's like, I don't think you should do that. Like, I don't think you should take the choice away from him because this is really unfortunate, but like, this is like his last decision. So you shouldn't take that from him. You should just like be with him for now before he passes. And that's really hard for Caroline to accept. It's a really interesting dynamic because, you know, obviously he hurt her so badly, like pretty recently, like just a handful of episodes ago, you know, he was really not good with her, and now she's kind of faced with actually losing him, and that's like too hard for her to accept. So at dinner, Klaus starts like picking at the Elena wound and just messing with the boys on purpose, and he turns to Elijah and is like, don't you think we should tell them about Tatya? I don't know if you guys remember this, but when Klaus was hunting Catherine initially, I told you guys that when Elijah meets Catherine for the first time, he's got kind of like an energy to him where it's like he's clearly kind of smitten with her, and like he can't, it's almost like he doesn't even mean to be doing it. So it's kind of chalked up to like all the men in Catherine's life are obsessed with her. But I want you to consider that he's also very caring and like protective of Elena as well. So this is when we find out that Tatya was the OG Catherine doppelganger, okay? Like the first one. So she was a girl in the village that when the Michelsons moved to Mystic Falls area, she was part of the village. Klaus and Elijah both fell in love with her. And their mom was so upset that the brothers who had been so close were fighting over a girl that she was like, I'm just gonna take her out of the picture. So she took Tatya and used her blood in the ritual that turned the boys into vampires. Are you kidding me right now? So that makes her the OG doppelganger for Elena. That's why Elena's blood is tied to everything. And also, how sad is that? So that was Elijah's like OG love interest, and that's why when he saw Catherine, he was like, oh my God. And when he saw Elena, he was like, oh, I must protect. Like, that's so pitiful. That's so sad. And for Klaus, it's just one big game. Abby is fighting back to her powers returning. She's just nervous, and she's definitely like not trying as hard as she could. So Bonnie insists that like they have to do this, and Abby owes knows her and needs to help her figure out how to open the coffin. They do the spell one more time and it like almost works. The coffin lid like jumps but doesn't open all the way. Bonnie immediately runs off to go tell Damon, and then Abby is left alone in the room, and all of a sudden the coffin lid just flies open. The plan that Damon and Stefan propose is that if they give Klaus and Elijah the final coffin, all of the originals and all of the hybrids need to leave Mystic Falls and just never return. Well, Klaus, of course, is like, I'm not agreeing to that because I need Elena and I need Elena's blood, so no. Damon steps out to get some air and Elijah's like, calm down, I'll handle this, I'll go talk to him. So he follows Damon, leaving Klaus to just torment Stefan. Klaus sets up this like teasing, not really teasing, it's more like a threat, where he's just like, how about counter offer? I take over caring for Elena. You and Damon leave, and I'll watch out for her. I'll take her with me, or I'll stay here with her. I'll make sure she gets married, maybe to Matt. They'll have a bunch of babies, and every couple generations, I'll get a new doppelganger, and I'll be able to continue making my hybrids for the rest of eternity, and it'll be perfect. And Stefan's like, you're insane. No. And he calls off the deal. So he attacks Klaus, and Klaus grabs him and starts toasting his hand in the open fireplace. Damon and Elijah come back in and stop that from happening, and then Klaus is like, go get the coffin. Elijah, go with him and make sure he does it correctly. Matt and Elena go home from Caroline's, and inside the Gilbert house the electricity's been cut, and then they find like a huge pool of blood in the kitchen and like a blood smear trail that leads them upstairs to Rick's bedroom, where they find Rick attacked on the floor with a knife in his stomach. So Elena goes to pull it out, and then Matt's like, oh my God, you can't do that. He's lost too much blood. Rick wakes up and Rick is like, Elena, you have to kill me. Matt is like, what do you mean? That is not the answer here. And Elena's like, no, he's right. I'm the doppelganger. If I kill him, his death is by a supernatural. But if he dies and we don't know who attacked him, he could just die and not come back. So Elena kills him. Caroline and her dad have a really emotional goodbye scene. It is very much a lot. It boils down to him basically saying he's proud of her. He doesn't care that she's a vampire. Like, she's everything that he hoped she would be. And then he has this moment where he's like, parents aren't supposed to outlive their children. Like, this is life. This is what it means to be human. And she's just sobbing and he's holding her and it's terrible. Elijah and Damon come back into the room with Klaus and Stefan. And Klaus is like, where's the coffin? And Elijah is like, surprise. And he holds up 2 daggers and he's like, we will now be doing this my way, brother. Cole and Finn, the 2 missing brothers, show up, and Klaus is like, Cole, what's going on? Finn, no, please. Finn stabs him in the hand. Then when he tries to run, Rebecca is also there, and she boxes him into the room, and she's like, what's up, brother? And she stabs him too. So there's just torture on Klaus. And Elijah is like, you guys are free to go. So Damon and Stefan run away, and the final shot is like a close-up of Elijah's face, and he's like, this is family business. Bill's death happens. It's actually really calm and peaceful. He just like passes away in the bed, and Liz is standing in the doorway, and Caroline's like, yeah, he's gone, because she's a vampire, so she hears his heart stop. Very emotional. Rick is still asleep. Matt agrees to wait with Elena because she's so afraid that when Rick wakes up, it's not actually gonna have worked, because remember, when he got hit by the car the last time, he came back, but his injuries weren't healed, and he didn't heal very fast. In the woods, on the way home, Damon and Stefan talk, and Stefan's like, that was a really good idea with Elijah back there, like, nice move. Elena calls Damon. He ignores the call because he's standing with Stefan. And then Stefan is like, I love her, brother. And Damon is like, I know. I do too. Like, Stefan, my guy, you simply do not get to do this. I don't know where you're getting the nerve for all of this behavior, but you don't get to do this. The sheriff explains to Elena that Meredith was actually in surgery during Rick's attack, so it couldn't have been her. And then Rick wakes up and he's fine, but he's still kind of hurt, but he's gonna be okay. I'm assuming they gave him a little blood to like make sure he healed, but we don't see that part happen, but I think that's what they must have done. Damon and Stefan go to the cave to see how Bonnie and Abby are doing. They find Bonnie unconscious at the front of the cave in the tunnels, and then when they get to the room, they can't get inside, obviously, but they say that they can hear Abby, so she's still alive and breathing, and then they can see that the coffin is open. We cut back to the Michelson headquarters, where Elijah and the other siblings have decided that they're actually just gonna leave Klaus. They're gonna do what they want. Rebecca's planning on killing Elena, and then they're gonna leave town and just stay away from him for the rest of eternity. And he's like, if you guys do that, I'm gonna hunt you down forever. And they're like, oh great, just like Dad. It's funny that you hate him so much because you're just like him, Klaus. You're just as big of a monster. He starts having a little meltdown and he's like, I'm the hybrid, me! You're supposed to be afraid of me! I'm the one in charge! I'm not afraid of anything! And Elijah's like, you're not scared of anything? You will be when we get that coffin open. But then the door opens and we see none other than Esther. That's right. Mama Michelson was in the fourth coffin. She comes strutting into the room. Everyone is stunned to silence except for Klaus, who is just trembling with fear. She walks right up to him and she's like, do you know why I'm here? Look at me! Look at me! Do you know why I'm here? And he's like, you're here to kill me? And she's like, no, I'm your mother. I'm here to forgive you. And then she turns to the room at large and is like, I want us all to be a family again. Like, go off. Oh my God. We open with Matt and Elena leaving the hospital, having a really awkward conversation about like recapping everything that happened the episode before. It's real strange. It definitely feels like they were intentionally talking because someone was listening to them, but they don't know that. But we do. We know they're being followed through the hospital by somebody listening to them. It's just written really terribly, okay? Anyway, she gets to her car. She backs up. She hits something. When she gets out to see, no one is there, but surprise, it's Rebecca, who starts trying to kill her. And then Elijah shows up, and he's like, "Get back off, sister." And they get in a fight, and she kind of rears up at him, and he's like, are you challenging me? Good God. So he chases Rebecca off and then he turns to Elena and he's like, hi, Elena. We have some catching up to do. We cut to Elena filling Damon and Stefan in on her talk with Elijah. Basically, he just told her, it's my mom. She's back. She wants to be one big happy family. They're like, okay, well, that's a bunch of lies. And she's like, no, actually, I believe him. Then she gets a letter delivered to the front door and it's an invitation to a ball being held by the Michelsons. On the back of the card is a note from Esther that says, I think it's time we meet. The Michelsons are getting ready for their party. Rebecca is just such a bitch now, okay? Like, I know that I had nice things to say about her a few episodes ago. It's real difficult now, okay? Because she's so angry and so mean all the time. Cole is the younger brother. He is unhinged, okay? Very not fun to be around. Constantly talking about killing people, constantly talking about doing just not fun activities. He's just the crazy brother, okay? Definitely the black sheep. The mom is trying to keep peace because all the siblings keep ganging up on Klaus, you know, because he daggered them and kept them in coffins for Finn, 900 years, okay? That's a long time to be locked away in a coffin. So the mom keeps being like, you know, you did do that. You did screw up. You're gonna have to own the fact that you screwed up and we'll figure it out. But like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. They're allowed to be mad at you. And he's like, I know, but like, I didn't think they would be this mad. Then she switches gears and is like, so who are you bringing to the party? You need to make sure you bring somebody really good for the party because it's gonna be a magical night. Suspicious. At Elena's, the boys argue about whether or not Elena should be able to go to the ball. Stefan's like, there's definitely more going on here than what we're being led to believe and we need to be careful. And Damon is like, look, if Elena's going, I'm the one who's going with her. Try to fight me on this. Caroline gets a voicemail from Tyler telling her that he's sorry about her dad and he wishes he could come back to her, but he's just not ready yet. But he loves her and he's doing his best so that when he comes back to her, they'll be able to be together and everything will be okay again. Then she gets an invitation to the ball along with the most beautiful blue dress, okay? And who invited her? Klaus. Klaus invited her, and on the back of her invitation is a little note from him that says, "Save me a dance." Are you kidding? Also, this dress, we can't talk about it too much right now, okay? But this dress is gonna come back. It might be months from now when we talk about this dress again, but we will be talking about this dress once more. Mark my words. When the girls find out that Rebecca is gonna take Matt to the dance, Caroline's like, yeah, absolutely, Elena. I will also be going because we have to make sure she doesn't freaking eat Matt in front of us. The ball is just beautiful, amazing, wonderful. The house is now complete somehow. They sped up production, I guess. And it's just this beautiful home with like a big spirally staircase and like a grand foyer and there's marble. It's nice, okay? So at the party, Damon goes to Carol and is like, I can't believe you're schmoozing with the Michelsons. Like, this is ridiculous and so beneath you. And Carol's like, once again, I'm gonna remind you that they have my son and I need to keep peace because they are the oldest vampire family ever. So if they want to live in my town, I need to be nice to them, Damon, because I'd like to stay alive. And then Elena shows up and Damon is like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my entire life. And he's just stunned into silence. He goes running across the room to get to her, but surprise, surprise, Stefan blocks his path and gets to her first. She's not happy about this, okay, because she saw Damon first too. And then Stefan shows up and they're like, you're not supposed to be here. And she's like, you're not supposed to be here. But then they end up with her in the middle of them walking into the party as a group of three, which is, I hate it. But I will say one of my favorite little moments of this scene is that when they start to walk away towards the party, Stefan is like eyes front looking out at the party, whereas Damon is just like, oh my God, looking at Elena beside him, like just in awe of how beautiful she looks. Priorities. Caroline just gives up on finding a better dress to the ball and wears the blue dress. Look at her. Look at this. Are you joking right now? Ah! So she shows up looking like this and Klaus is like, yes. And he goes right over to her and she's like, oh, I need a drink, and just blows him off. Do you think Mans is deterred? No, he is undeterred. He's just like, absolutely, I'll be chasing you for the rest of my existence. And he just goes after her. Finn, scary older brother, introduces himself to Elena and is like, so I see you showed up with the Salvatore boys. That's not going to work for my mom. And if you would like to meet with her, you're going to have to meet with her alone. Elijah calls the room to order, and it's funny because somehow he's in charge even though Finn's the older brother. The dynamics of this family are very strange, but he basically is just like, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're all here. My family's very wealthy and powerful. We're going to begin the evening with a dance. And then when all of the siblings come downstairs to join the ballroom, Esther, the mom, goes upstairs. So Elena is like, now is my chance. And she goes after Esther, and Damon is like, are you absolutely insane? No, you're not going to meet her alone. And Elena's like, Damon, you have to let me make my own choices. And he's like, girl, I will when your choices aren't suicide missions. Now get on the dance floor with me and let's dance. So they do. And then you know who else dances together? That's right, Klaus and Caroline. I can't breathe with the way he looks at her. I want to know who in the writer's room was like, you know what would be cool? You know what would be fun? If we put them together and just tested to see if they have chemistry. Because, oh my God, they have so much. And it's the surprise couple of the season, okay? Nothing's even happening yet. They're just dancing at the ball and I'm frothing at the mouth. He tries to talk to her about her father and she's like, save it. I don't want to do that. And he's like, okay. So then he just starts flirting with her openly and he's like, you look beautiful tonight. I love your dress. What's your excuse on wearing the bracelet that I gave you? Like, did you just do that because you couldn't find anything better either? And she's like, ugh, shut up. And then he's like, you know, you're a really good dancer. And she's like, well, thank you. I've been trained. I was Miss Mystic Falls. He looks at her while they go to spin out of frame and he's just like, I know. What do you mean you know? Have you been watching Caroline this whole time? Oh my God. What am I supposed to do with that information? What does he mean? They cut while they're dancing, the couples end up scattered about, so Caroline ends up with Matt, and she's like, I cannot believe that you're here with Rebecca. And he's like, okay, I don't know if you know this, but you are quite literally at the ball with Klaus. You can't say anything to me right now, dude. Damon and Rebecca end up dancing. Remember that. It will be relevant in a few minutes. Elena and Stefan end up together, and then she's like, I need to talk to you. Come with me. And she takes him outside. They talk, and basically she's like, Damon's not going to let me do what I need to do, but you don't care about anyone anymore, least of all me, so I need you to help me get Damon out of the picture so that I can go meet Esther alone, because that's what we need to do tonight in order to get what we want. And you're going to help me, right, Stefan, because you don't care anymore? And he's like, yep. You know me so well, Elena. Absolutely. Cole teases Rebecca for bringing a mortal to the dance, and he's like, I can't believe you're gonna fall for a human. Like, that's mistake number one, idiot. And she's like, Cole, don't be stupid. I'm not falling for Matt. I'm going to murder Matt because he's Elena's best friend, and that'll be perfect revenge. And Cole is like, I want in, yay! Elena gets Damon to meet her in a back room, and then Stefan pops up and snaps his neck so that Elena can sneak off to Esther. On her way, Elijah grabs her and is like, hey, I'm a little worried my mom is up to something. Things seem suspicious, okay? Can I trust you to tell me what she says when you get in there? And Elena's like, yes, absolutely, of course, because they have that understanding with each other, okay? They're friends. There's a friendship there that I love. When Elena comes in, Finn is hovering with Esther, but he leaves them alone once she gets there, and he's like, thanks for coming by yourself. Then once she's in the room, Esther is super nice. She's like very normal. She's like, Elena, I'm so sorry. I know you must have so many questions for me. Like, go ahead, please sit. Let's just talk. We learn that Ayana, which is the witch that when they moved to Mystic Falls, she was the one that like came with them. She was like the family friend. Ayana was a Bennett witch, and she did a preservation spell onto Esther to keep her alive in the coffin. And then when Bonnie and Abby opened the coffin, because they're Bennetts, it like fixed everything. Esther is also drawing power from the Bennett line, given her connection to Ayana. That's not ever clarified more than that. Like, Ayana and Esther were friends, and when Esther went to the other side, I don't know if it's like Ayana being over there with her or what, but the Bennetts agreed to give Esther their power. So that's what she's drawing from to keep herself alive, keep her powers going, do all the spells she needs to do. She says all she needs from Elena is her help so that she can undo the damage she did when she created vampires, because that is what all of the witches on the other side want in exchange for helping her and giving them her powers. Klaus finds Caroline talking to the horses, and he's like, oh, do you like horses? And she's like, why are you even acting like you care? And he's like, because I do. I fancy you. Yeah, that's right. Remember, he's British, so that's what he says. He says he fancies her. And he's like, you're smart and pretty and intelligent, and I like that about you. And she's like, well, you know what I don't like, Klaus? I don't like that you're keeping my boyfriend Tyler hostage. That's right. I still have a boyfriend, okay? I'm dating Tyler. And he's like, are you? Because Tyler's not actually here. Like, where is Tyler? And she's like, hiding from you because you're ruining his life. Why would I want to be with you when you're doing that to Tyler? And he's just like, I see your point. Esther explains her plan to Elena, which is basically that she needs a drop of Elena's blood. It'll go in the champagne toast. All of her children will drink the champagne toast. They will be linked as one. And then Finn will be sacrificed. If they kill him, all the other ones will die. Also, it's absolutely more than one drop of blood. She says one, but like it goes bloop, 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 like a lot comes out of just her little finger, okay? You're telling me that ancient vampires didn't taste it. Damon wakes up and fights with Stefan. He's absolutely shocked to find out that somehow he has been labeled the emotional brother who can't handle himself and is gonna get everybody in trouble. Rebecca brings Matt outside so that she and Cole can kill him in the parking lot, but then he's like, why are we out here, girl? It's freezing. And he grabs his coat from the car and puts it on her because she's wearing this gorgeous green strapless dress, and she starts to be like, I'm a vampire, I don't get cold, but he just puts it on her anyway, and she's just like, oh, thanks. She's just a girl who wants to be loved. Oh my God, full circle. So then she panics about Cole coming to kill him and quickly gets him back inside. Elijah goes to Elena and is like, hey, tell me the truth. Can I trust my mom? Is everything okay? And Esther is watching. So Elena is like, yes, everything is fine. And Elijah's like, oh, wonderful. So now he thinks everything's hunky-dory, no problems. They're just gonna be a big happy family again. Esther does the toast, telling everybody they're just a big happy family with no issues, and everyone drinks, including Elijah. Klaus takes Caroline to his study to show her one of his passions. And they look around at these like beautiful paintings and landscapes and sketches, and she's kind of just like, oh, you stole these from the Louvre? Like, that's one of your hobbies, is stealing from museums? Like, great, wonderful, awesome, Klaus. And he's just like, that's not what happened. And then she finds a sketch with his name on it, and she's like, I'm sorry, did you do all of these? Because yes, remember, Klaus is an artist, okay? And then he's kind of bashful about it, and he's like, yeah, I did. I also have landscapes hanging up in places, you know, famous museums. Not that it's a big deal or anything. Do you like art? Is that cool? Do you think that's cool that I did that? And she's just like stunned. He launches into this adorable monologue where he's like, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to a museum? Do you want to go to Paris? Do you want to go to Tokyo? Do you want to go to London? I'll take you anywhere. Where do you want to go? Just tell me where you want to go and I will take you there. But then she just starts snapping and goes off on him and is like, this is your problem. You're way too controlling. You just try to like puppeteer everyone in your life, including Tyler. Like, how can anybody get close to you because you don't actually want to know people? You just like want to use them for what you want and then let go of them again. She's like, how am I supposed to trust that? How am I supposed to like believe you? Like, none of it's real, Klaus. None of your relationships are real. God, she also has like a daddy issues comment here where she's like, you assume that because Michael didn't love you, no one else ever will. Don't be so loud about it, Caroline, damn. Damon tries to force Elena to leave because he thinks she's stupid for having met with Esther alone, and she's like, you can't tell me what to do. And then they get in a fight about why he's mad at her, and she's like, you just think I can't make my own decisions, that's why you're mad. And then he's like, no, Elena, I'm mad because I love you. And instead of saying literally anything else, Elena goes, maybe that's the problem. So that was the wrong thing to say. And immediately Damon is like, wow, I shared too much. I'll never speak about anything on my mind ever again. And he shuts down completely. And Elena's like, whoa, I'm sorry, I didn't mean. And he's like, no, you already did it. It will take me many days to come back. And he, again, you know, he had this revelation with Stefan, but now Elena's also pointed it out. And he's like, I can't believe that I care too much. I can't believe I'm the liability. Cole can't believe that Rebecca didn't let him kill Matt, so he lures Matt outside to the balcony to kill him there. And then Damon shows up because, you know, Damon's got to lash out now. He attacks Cole and snaps his neck. Terrible plan at the Michelson property to do that, okay? Elena is like, what is wrong with you? I can't believe you did this. And Damon's like, oh, I'm sorry. Did I make a problem? My bad. Caroline calls Tyler and tells him that she appreciates what he's doing, but she really misses him and she just wishes he could come home, and she loves him too. And then she finds a second Klaus present. He gives her these, like, they're like long, you know, like jewelry boxes. They're like black velvet with little ribbons on them. I like to imagine he tied the ribbon himself. Of course he did. So he gives her another one of those, and in this one, when she opens it, it's a piece of parchment, and he drew a little quick sketch of her and a horse, and it says, thank you for your honesty, Klaus. Oh my God. I would fall for the villain. I know that about myself, okay? These shows just prove that to me. Like, if you presented me with a villain acting like this and a Prince Charming acting like this, I think I would pick the villain. Esther goes off on Elijah about how Cole and Rebecca just disgraced the family, which is good, at least. So Damon really didn't make that big of a problem. He made Cole mad, but Esther knows that Cole started it, so she's not mad at Damon for killing Cole. It's just funny to me that Elijah is so clearly in charge, even though he is not the oldest, okay? But he's the one with all the responsibility of the oldest child, and that's probably why I love him so much. Man, I'm just making that realization. And then Finn comes in, and he's like, I just was standing in the hallway. I heard you say that you wish we were all more like Elijah. You know, I'm not hurt by that, though, because when exactly are we doing the linking spell so that you can sacrifice me and I can die? I'm excited. I can't wait to die. And she's like, thank you, sweetie. I know. We're working on it. She finishes the ritual, which is basically adding Finn's blood to the spell. You know, you gotta have all the ingredients. So he drips his blood onto a parchment that has the family names written on it, and his blood branches off and makes a little family tree with all the siblings. So now they're all linked as one. Stefan takes Elena home since she fought with Damon. She feels really guilty for lying to Elijah, but Stefan is just like, I don't think you understand how much darkness that family brought into your life. Like, who cares if Elijah goes down with them? They all deserve it, which I firmly disagree with, but whatever. She asks how he turns off his emotions and pretends he doesn't care, and then she practically just like begs him to do something because she's like, I still care, Stefan. So after all this time, this is like one of her final moments of just being like, prove to me that you're still in there. Prove it. And he says that when he lets himself feel anything, all he feels is pain, and he runs away from her. Rebecca goes to the grill to try to apologize to Matt, and he's kind of just like, you know, I don't have time for this, Rebecca. You're really pretty. You're nice to me. But you're gonna have to leave me alone. I can't do it anymore, which really hurts her, but don't worry. Damon shows up, and he's like, oh, wow, rejected by the quarterback. That must hurt. And she's like, whatever, Damon. And he's like, oh, you're right. Like, you're not the kind of girl who, like, feels bad about stuff like that anyway. And she's like, are you saying I'm not delicate or something like that? And he's like, no, I'm just saying maybe you need to find somebody sturdier for you. Yes, they hook up. No, I do not like it. Elena keeps calling Stefan because she really wants to talk to him, but he keeps ignoring her calls. So she calls Damon, he answers, and she's like, you can't stay mad at me forever. And he's like, don't worry, Elena, I'm already over it because, yeah, that's right, Rebecca's in his bed. Yay! When Damon walks Rebecca out in a towel, and she's just wearing her ripped dress from the night before, and they open the door, Elena is there. So that's awkward. She asks if he was compelled, and he's like, no. And she's like, well, what? Are you gonna do this every time I hurt your feelings? You're just gonna lash out? Girl, yes, that's his MO. That's what he does. He claps back with like, maybe this didn't have anything to do with you, Elena. She kind of just is like, whatever, you're an idiot, and then tells him about the linking spell and how she doesn't want Elijah to get hurt. But once again, Damon's just kind of like, I think this is a great plan. I don't think we should worry about Elijah. Elijah finds the sage that Esther used, which he knows means privacy spell. She tells Elena that when Elena comes to see her. She's like, I burned sage, so now no one can hear what we're talking about. So Elijah knows that. He goes to Rebecca and is like, look, I found sage in Mother's study. Mother is lying to us. And Rebecca is like, can you quit being a rain cloud and trying to find things to be upset about? Finn is working with Mom, okay? Just ask Finn. And he's like, no, I don't trust Finn either. Finn hates what we are. And Rebecca's like, no, he doesn't. And Elijah's like, girl, yes, he does. He desperately wishes we were not vampires. Where have you been? Bonnie is trying to learn the privacy spell with Elena and Caroline, but she cannot get it to work. She tells Elena that Esther came to see her and Abby and basically explained like who she was and the story about, you know, being friends with a Bennett once upon a time and how she's drawing from them and their ancestral power. All of that. Once again, Elena is like, Bonnie, can you please help me save Elijah? And Bonnie is like, girl, there is no chance for him. The spell is happening tonight. He is going to die. Elena comes downstairs and opens the front door to leave her house, and Elijah is there, and spooky music plays. Which I just find so funny because he is just so not a threat to her, but literally like when she opens the door, it's like on his face. And he's just like, hi, Elena, I need to show you something. Come with me. So he takes her out to the woods and he's basically like, they're up above like the Lockwood tunnels. And he's like, I used to come here when I was a boy. You know, this is like where I played with my family. And she's kind of like, okay, that's a weird thing to drive me all the way out here to tell me. I really need to go home. And he's like, you know, Elena, I really admire you. I always have. You know, you're so honest, you're so kind. It's some of your best qualities, which is why I'm so surprised that the night of the ball, you lied to my face. You're lying to me right now. You're a liar. What's going on? She immediately tells him everything and is like, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to hurt you. I wish there was something I could do. He's like, you know, Elena, in all my years on this earth, the one thing I've learned is be careful what you wish for. And then he stomps the ground so that a tunnel opens up beneath them and he brings her down into it and leaves her there. Damon calls Rick looking for Elena. Rick gives Damon some shit about sleeping with Rebecca because now Rick is Elena's dad, so of course she told him about that. But he also is like, yeah, I have no idea where Elena is. Rick is on a date with Meredith, and she thinks that whoever attacked him with the knife was probably a vampire since he can't remember the attack and he like lost time. So she's like, I think they attacked you and then used compulsion on you and left you there. Bonnie and Abby meet up with Esther and Finn at the witch house to begin the ritual under the full moon. Elijah shows up at Damon and Stefan's house and is like, surprise, I know everything. You're all in trouble. We better figure this out as a team or Elena's gonna die. And they're like, what do you mean? And he's like, one of you needs to kill either Abby or Bonnie to sever the connection that Esther has to the Bennett bloodline. That way she can't draw on their power anymore and she loses her connection to the power and it's all over for her, okay? I can't do it. Because if I show up, Finn and Esther are going to be like, Elijah's here, he's trying to kill us, and they'll stop me. So that's why I need y'all to do it. If you don't, Rebecca is currently babysitting Elena, and she will enjoy killing her. Y'all's choice. In the tunnel, sure enough, Rebecca shows up. She tortures Elena a little bit. Nothing like too bad, but she's basically just like, sit down, shut up, or I will kill you regardless of what Elijah says. I won't wait until 9 o'clock. I'll just do it right now. And Elena's like, I don't understand why you're mad at me when this is literally your mom's fault. This is your mom's fault. Why are you upset with me? Damon and Stefan talk about the logistics of having to kill either Abby or Bonnie. They're both upset about that. Neither one of them really wants to do it. Damon is like, what if we just dagger Elijah? They know that that probably won't work on Klaus because remember, since he's a hybrid, the whole like dagger to the chest doesn't really do anything to him. So it would at least knock out Elijah, Finn, Cole, and Rebecca. And that would be 4 down. And then they would just have to deal with Esther and Klaus. So they think they can handle that if they can figure out how to do it. They end up sending Caroline to the grill where Klaus and Cole are drinking. She shows up. Cole is like, oh, wow, she's gorgeous, isn't she? Like, she looks tasty. And Klaus is like, say anything else about her, and I will rip out your heart. And Cole's like, damn, noted. She walks up to them, and Klaus is like, hi, can I buy you a drink? And she's like, oh my God, I would rather die of thirst. And then she just leaves. So she walks in, sees them, has that moment with Klaus, leaves. And Klaus is like, isn't she just perfect? And then runs after her. I wish I was kidding. This man is down so bad for her. And for what reason? It happened so fast. He begs her to give him a chance outside the grill. He's like, what do you want to talk about? I'll tell you anything. You want to get to know me? Like, get to know me. Ask me questions. And he sits down on a bench and he's like, come on, Caroline. I dare you. Sit with me. So then she sits down and she's like, okay, well, what do you want to talk about? And he's like, I want to talk about you. I want you to tell me what you want out of life. I want to know your hopes, dreams, passions, thoughts, everything. And she's like, I am way too smart to be seduced by you, dude. And he's like, I know. Girl, I know. That's why I want you so bad. Cole gets all weird and assaulty with Meredith at the grill, but remember, Rick is there, so bada bing, bada boom, that was the plan all along. While Cole is like kind of lightly attacking Meredith, Rick shows up and is like, you should have taken no the first time, and stabs him with the dagger. Outside the grill, Klaus feels it and is like, What just happened? What's going on? Rebecca drops in the tunnel with Elena, and Finn drops in the ritual circle with Esther. Klaus freaks out on Caroline and is like, what happened? What did you do? And she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't do anything. I'm just sitting here with you. And he's like, what did you do? And she's like, nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. And then he realizes, and he's like, oh my God, Cole. And he goes running back into the grill to find his brother. He rips the dagger out of Cole when he finds them, and everybody immediately wakes up. We don't actually know where Elijah is for this. I'm realizing that now as I'm telling you guys. We watch Rebecca and Finn collapse, but we do not see Elijah also collapse. Where is he when this happens? Damon is like, go ahead and kill me, Klaus. I don't care. It won't stop your mom from killing you. And Klaus is like, what on earth are you talking about? I am gonna kill you. And then Elijah shows up and is like, hold on. We don't need to kill Damon. This is not the point. And then he tells Damon, if him and Stefan don't figure out the Bonnie Abby situation right this second, he's just gonna have Rebecca kill Elena immediately. And Damon's like, I thought we had until 9 o'clock. And Elijah's like, that's until you decided to do this stupid dagger plan. Now I'm upset with you and you have a few minutes, okay? Figure it out. Rebecca chases Elena in the tunnels, but Elena gets into the little room that's spelled away from vampires, so Rebecca can't get in now. Damon and Stefan go to the witch house to attack Bonnie and Abby, and Damon is like, you know, she only has to hate one of us. Only one of us has to actually do this thing, you know, which is kill Abby or Bonnie. And they realize, you know, that Elena would just want them to let Elena die. That's what she would choose. If she knew what was going on, she would just say, cool, let Rebecca kill me. I don't care. But obviously the boys aren't going to do that. So Damon's like, let's flip a coin and then we'll just see. He flips it and Stefan makes a face and then it cuts away. Rebecca is truly unhinged. She brings a bottle of gasoline into the room where Elena's at and throws it on her and then starts lighting the room on fire. Now, granted, it is just rocks and a little bit of water. So, like, she says to Elena, the next match goes on you. This one's gonna burn you. I'll burn the room. There's not a lot in there to continuously burn. So, like, it would probably be uncomfortable. I don't know if it would kill her, though, the way Rebecca seems to think it would. Elena tries to reach out to Rebecca in this moment and get her to talk because clearly Rebecca is hurt and upset about the fact that their mom is trying to kill them because that would be upsetting to anybody to learn. And Elena tries to offer her assistance, but Rebecca is like, you quite literally stabbed me in the back. We're not girlfriends anymore. You lost those privileges with me. We are not friends. And Elena reminds her that she's definitely not going to kill her right now because what Rebecca wants is revenge. And say everything gets figured out and the originals live past this day, then what's Rebecca going to do with her time tomorrow if she kills Elena and there's no point to her revenge anymore? Rebecca lets the match burn down because Elena is correct. Klaus, Elijah, and Cole show up at the witch house to stop the ritual. Esther goes on a rant about how for 1,000 years she watched all of them, Elijah included, do horrible, terrible things to get what they want. They're like a plague on the earth. They need to be wiped out of existence, and she's going to be the one to do it, so they wasted their time coming to stop her. They're not going to stop her. Inside the house, Abby and Bonnie get snatched. Stefan grabs Bonnie and is like, you have to figure out how to sever this connection. And she's like, Stefan, you don't understand. I can't. And he's like, Bonnie, if you can't, then I have to do something about it, okay? And she's like, what are you talking about, Stefan? Are you going to kill me? And he's like, the only way to stop her, Bonnie, is if one of you is no longer a witch. And then we cut to Damon turning freaking Abby into a vampire. And he's like vaguely gentle about it, but it's not good. It's a bad moment. Esther's connection is broken, and outside in the ritual space, her and Finn vanish. Rebecca releases Elena and is like, you know what? I do plan on making my revenge last, okay? We're talking slow burn, enemies to lovers level revenge plot right here. Elena goes to see Bonnie because, you know, now her birth mother is gonna turn into a vampire. Caroline meets her at the door and is like, hey, I will tell her you came. She does not want to see you. And Elena's like, excuse me, what are you talking about? And Caroline's like, yeah, see, the thing is, the only reason why this happened to Abby is because of you. So Bonnie's gonna need some time to work through those feelings. We find out that Stefan actually lost the coin toss. That's right. So that little face he made in the car was him being like, dang it, I'm gonna be the one Elena hates. But Damon did it anyway. Damon did the thing. So then Stefan's like, I don't understand why you did that. Like, either you don't like me or you like me. And Damon explains that, like, he knows Stefan is struggling, and he also knows that Stefan is off of human blood. And Stefan's like, you don't know what you're talking about. And Damon's like, I do. I know you're off of human blood. And one more thing for Elena to hate you for would have just pushed you over the edge, and we really never would have gotten you back. So how long have you been off human blood? And Stefan admits that he hasn't had any human blood since the night he almost drove Elena off the bridge. And then Damon continues and is like, you know, yes, I love her, but she doesn't love me. She doesn't want me even when I play by the rules. So I'm done being the nice guy. I'm way better at being the bad guy anyway. Who cares? Nothing matters. When Elena gets home, she finds a letter from Elijah, and it's him basically being like, I'm so sorry. I know I hurt you today. I did things I'm like so not proud of. I can't believe I did that to you. I hope you can forgive me. I did everything for my family. I'm sorry. Good man. He's a good man, Savannah. He's a good man. Becca goes to Elijah looking for Esther, and Elijah's having a moment, and he's just like, I can't believe Mom was right. Okay, we are terrible people. I'm a terrible person. I deserve to die. I've done terrible things. And Rebecca is like, brother, we are better than the humans, okay? We deserve to live. We deserve to have lives just like them. We're better than them. And Elijah is like, no, Mother made us vampires. She didn't make us monsters. We did that to ourselves. We cut to Klaus burning pictures of Caroline because he's a little emo man who does not know how to regulate his emotions. Y'all thought Damon was prone to temper tantrums? No, he has got nothing on Klaus Michelson, okay? So he's just burning page after page of sketches of Caroline. Rebecca comes in and interrupts his little broody moment, and she's like, I have to show you something. And he's like, I don't care about anything right now. And she's like, well, you're gonna care about this. And she shows him a picture of like a still shot. She was taking videos of Elena while Elena was in the cave. She was being like, tell everybody your last moments, Elena. Say goodbye. So she shows him a picture, and on the wall behind Elena, there's like a story that she could make out, which was basically saying that there was a white oak tree 300 years after they burned the white oak tree down. So that is fundamentally bad for everyone involved. Rick wakes up at Meredith's and goes into the kitchen. He finds some scattered paperwork on her desk because her house is very messy. She's a doctor, so she doesn't have time to clean. He starts going through it. He realizes it's like medical examiner reports and things about the murders. He finds the knife, you know, the Gilbert knife and everything, and he's like, what is going on? This is not good. Then he looks up, and Meredith is standing there with a gun, and she's like, you weren't supposed to see that. And then she shoots him. And that's the end of the episode. Episode 16 opens with a surprise flashback from 1912. In this flashback, we see a Salvatore guy and another dude. I don't think we find out who he is. It does not matter. They're talking after a council meeting, and the second dude is like, we need to be careful. These council members are getting murdered. And the Salvatore man is like, please, it's fine. It's probably just a vampire. We'll figure it out. No big deal. He goes home and, of course, gets murdered. In the present, Carol goes to Liz and is like, if you have a suspect in these murders, you need to tell me because I'm the mayor's wife and I need to know. And Liz is just like, okay, but I can't just tell you that because I don't want to accuse somebody who could be innocent. And Carol's like, you tell me who it is right now. We cut to Rick waking up in a jail cell. Damon is there to help. So Liz explains to both of them that Meredith's side of the story is that Rick came at her with a knife, she shot him, she healed him with vampire blood and delivered him to the sheriff and said, he's the one who did the murders. They don't have any real proof other than what Meredith said and the fact that the weapons match up, but obviously Liz doesn't believe Rick did it, and Rick doesn't believe Rick did it, so who did it? Matt and Elena are running together, nice change of pace to her running by herself. He tells her that Abby is going to complete the transition. Bonnie's doing okay, but she still needs a little bit more time away from Elena. Elena gets called down to the jail to check on Rick. She runs into Damon. He's really snarky and just a general jerk. She calls him out on it, and she's like, you need to knock it off. Like, why are you being so mean again? And he's like, I'm mean. You hate me. The world is spinning as it should be. And she's like, Damon, you know, if you keep pushing people away, you're going to end up alone. Stefan is struggling with his, you know, self-inflicted human blood detox. Damon comes in, kind of picks on him a little bit about it, and then starts snooping through Stefan's like various journals, because remember, Stefan keeps a diary, so he's got diaries going back like all the time that he's been alive as a vampire. When Stefan asks what he's looking for, Damon is like, you know, I'm getting a little suspicious because there's several founding family members that have been murdered, and I remember coming home in 1912 for Zacharias's murder. And also at that time, there were more founding family members being killed. So I think we're having a history repeats itself moment. And Stefan's like, now, brother, we could be. Cut to the flashback. Stefan meets a young Lockwood and Gilbert woman, and they kind of talk and give up to him that, like, yeah, the founding family members are being murdered, and they're all a little concerned. We see a crow, and then Damon shows up. So I guess they actually did do that more than once, which is kind of funny. And this is the first time the boys have seen each other since they turned into vampires. So it's been about 50 years. They agree to catch up with each other because they've missed each other. Even though Damon's still mad at him, they have missed each other, so they're going to spend a little brother time together. Rebecca meets with Carol to try to find out about the white oak tree. She doesn't expressly say white oak tree. There's no good way to just be like, I'm interested in trees, and there's a certain tree I'd like to look for. But I don't know if Carol just deals with this on a regular basis. Like, maybe this is something that families with so much money, they don't have to worry about like normal things like bills, worry about is trees. I love trees, but I hope you guys get what I'm saying with that, is that she just starts up a conversation about an ancient tree she'd like to find, and Carol's like, oh, absolutely, the logging records belong to the Salvatores. As if it's normal Tuesday conversation. Liz tells Rick that Meredith's shaky motive for Rick doing the murders is that Rick has been defending Meredith. So if you'll remember, Brian attacked Meredith and Rick defended her. Bill was upset with Meredith for using vampire blood on him, and apparently she told Rick that Bill was going to report her. And Rick is like, she never told me that. And Liz is like, are you sure? Because we have this phone call record that y'all spent an hour on the phone together in the middle of the night. You don't remember that? And he's like, no, Liz, I don't, because I'm an alcoholic and I was drinking. Stefan and Damon reminisce about an old friend, Sage. Rebecca's also part of this conversation now, and she also knows who Sage is. Sage is this gorgeous redheaded vampire that was also in town in 1912, so maybe she's the one that was killing founding family members back then. Elena goes to Meredith to try to convince her that Rick is innocent and like insist that Meredith knows Rick is innocent, and Meredith is like, girl, you don't even know Rick, okay? Rick was arrested 4 times before the age of 21 for fighting. Rick's wife, Isabel, filed restraining orders against him and reported him to the police and then married him anyway. So I guess, what do I really know about her? Which was a really gross victim blaming moment on Meredith's part, but anyway. And then she proceeds to be like, he's a borderline alcoholic vampire hunter that you just adopted like a little lost puppy, and you didn't actually know anything about him. Just admit you made a mistake. And Elena's like, no. Because Elena can't believe Meredith, Matt breaks her into Meredith's apartment and they start looking for evidence. They find inside the walls, because remember, the Gilberts kept the hidden vampire hunting stuff in the walls. So Elena is like, I bet Meredith does the same thing, and she's right. They find all these like files on the murders and a file on Rick. Rebecca keeps pushing the boys to get information about the logging records. She is not subtle, okay? But they keep blowing her off. Damon tells us that Sage is the reason why Damon is Damon, okay? He didn't model his behavior off of Catherine. He met Sage, and Sage was like, you're a bad little vampire who doesn't even enjoy being a vampire. You're just wasting your time. You need to learn how to be better at this and enjoy who you are and relish in this part of yourself. And Damon was like, yeah, absolutely. That could be really fun. That sounds great. Would you like to be my girlfriend? We also find out from Rebecca that she knows Sage because Sage was involved with Finn. And Finn was in the coffin for 900 years. So Sage is so old, okay? Remember, the older they are, the more dangerous they are. Matt and Elena also find a set of Gilbert journals in Meredith's stuff. And then Matt finds a paper that corrects the time of death for Brian. So initially, they thought that Brian had been murdered when Rick didn't have an alibi. But now we find out that actually he was murdered when Rick did have an alibi. So Rick has been cleared. Meredith comes home, and Matt and Elena are like, ah! They get in the closet to hide from her. Meredith kind of moves around her apartment for a minute and then leaves and shuts the door. Matt and Elena are like, thank God. They come out of the closet, and freaking Meredith is waiting for them. Also, Matt and Elena get taken to the sheriff's. Obviously, Matt and Elena get taken to the sheriff's office. Liz is like, I don't understand even kind of what you guys were thinking. And Elena's like, I had to prove Rick was innocent. Like, we found this paper. And Liz is like, yeah, you mean this paper? And she holds up her own copy of the report. And she's like, Meredith sent me this the second she received it, okay? She knows that Rick didn't do it. She corrected her mistake. And now I can't follow up on why she would do that because you broke into her house and could have planted the evidence. Leave my office. Damon doesn't think that Stefan's going to be able to handle detoxing on his own because he's very jumpy, and Damon's basically like, all or nothing has never worked for you. We're going to have to figure out moderation. So he attacks a woman and then coerces Stefan into drinking from her, but when Stefan goes a little feral, Damon stops him and is like, no, 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 we're not killing her. Then he heals the woman, okay? So that goes relatively well for Stefan. But then, of course, Elena and Matt walk by at that moment. Matt is disgusted. Elena is, like, absolutely horrified because Stefan's a mess. He's, like, covered in blood. And Stefan is just like, oh, my God, I can't believe she's seeing me like this. And Damon is like, please don't make a scene. Just walk away. So Matt takes Elena away. But then Stefan is pissed and like shoulder checks Damon as he walks away. At home, Matt gets Elena to explain to him why on earth she has a thing for both brothers. And her reasoning is basically that in the beginning with Stefan, he made her feel safe because she knew that he was always going to love her and he was never going to die. So just like how her parents died and she lost people she loved, she was never going to have to lose Stefan. And that felt good for her. Then with Damon, he just like snuck in. He got under her skin and she couldn't shake him. And Matt Donovan says, I think once you love somebody, you never really shake them. He's talking about the two of them, and it's a sweet moment, but also we were just talking about Damon. He then gives Elena the Gilbert journal that Meredith had that he stole. Rick comes home and he's doing fine. Elena gives him a hug because she was so worried about him, and he returns it. And for me, that's kind of the moment where it's like, you know, Rick's not going anywhere. Rick is in their life. Rick is basically their dad. We cut to Stefan just like brutally sitting in front of the fire watching the flames. Damon comes home and is like, good work today, brother. I am proud of you. You did awesome. Like, tomorrow's gonna be even better. We're gonna get this figured out. You're gonna be the king of moderation in no time. Stefan's like, I don't know why you care so much. It's not like I even need your help. And Damon's like, wow, do you remember the last time you told me that? We flash back to 1912, where after Damon was like corrupted by Sage, he corrupted Stefan and was like, it's really more fun to drink from people. He got Stefan to drink from a girl. Stefan promptly went Ripper mode and tore her to pieces. Then we get to see for the first time the way that Stefan is like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did this to you. He tried to put her back together. Damon was horrified by what had happened. Stefan goes wandering off into the woods being like, I don't need your help, Damon. Look what you did to me. And then that is when, because it's 1912, that's when Stefan went off and became the Ripper of Monterey that Klaus heard the rumors of before the 20s when Klaus and Stefan became friends. It was Damon's fault, kind of. It probably would have happened either way, but it was kind of Damon's fault, okay? And in the present, Damon is like, I just feel bad that I let that happen because you killed a lot of people and I just didn't want to be the one to help you. But now I'm going to help you so hard. I'm going to be here for you every step of the way until you don't need me anymore. Does that sound good? Because that's what's happening. And Stefan's like, but why? And Damon's like, because, brother, You're all I have left in the world. All right, things are about to get crazy. Rick comes down to make a midnight coffee while Elena is reading the Gilbert journal. They have a cute moment where he's like, I don't want you getting in trouble for me. And she's like, if not for you, then who am I supposed to get in trouble for, Rick? You're my family. They agree to take care of each other and look after each other from here on out. Elena explains that the journal that she's reading is not actually Jonathan Gilbert's journal. It's Samantha Gilbert's journal, his granddaughter from 1912. Yes, the one that Stefan met at the funeral. Damon is playing the piano. Stefan comes into the room and is like, hey, I went through the archives like you asked me to. And Damon's like, oh, are we friends now? And Stefan's like, do you want me to be mad at you again? And Damon's like, no, carry on. Stefan explains about Samantha. And he's like, so I didn't find anything from 1912, but a few years in the future, Samantha Gilbert confessed they locked her up in an insane asylum, and that's where the trail goes cold. I guess they covered it up. And Damon's like, that is strange because I'm pretty sure I'd already killed her. Meredith shows up to see Rick, and she's like, I know what this looks like. And he's like, do you? And he goes to shut the door in her face, and she's like, Rick, wait. I turned you in, and then I cleared your name on purpose so that they would stop looking at you. They're not going to look at you again. You're not going to be a suspect again. You've been cleared. Please let me inside so I can explain what's going on. Elena finds messages in the journal saying things like, I'm losing my mind, I'm missing time, I don't know who I am anymore. The boys put together that if Samantha Gilbert wasn't a vampire, she was a Gilbert who probably had the Gilbert ring that Rick now has. So even though Damon killed her, she came back to life. Meredith explains to Rick that the victims were killed with his weapons, and his knife wounds could have been self-inflicted. So she thinks he's going insane, and that's why he's missing time, and that's why he doesn't remember, because the ring that he has is bringing him back to life, but it's changing him in the process, and that's what's wrong. Rick is like, that's insane, there's no way that's true. But then Elena comes in holding the journal, and she's like, actually, Rick, I think it's very much possible. And then we cut to a 1912 flashback of the Salvatore man from the beginning of the episode being killed again, only this time it cuts to the person holding the knife, and it's Samantha Gilbert. That was a lot. It's just gonna get more confusing. 17 through 22, still a roller coaster, okay? If you guys think we've uncovered all the insanity of this season, you are incorrect. So I hope you're ready for next week. I will see you then. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out. It helps this community keep growing. Whenever you guys even just like the videos or comment down below, it just gives me a little boost in the YouTube algorithm, you know, keeps things moving along. And I do love talking to you guys down below. I do my best to respond to everybody. So I hope to hear from you, and I hope you guys are doing so well, and I will see you all so soon. Have a good one. Bye.